Welcome, everybody, to Instrumental Innovations.
Here we're going to dive into sterile processing, uncover the latest trends, technologies, and leadership strategies that shape the future of healthcare operations. I'm your host, Brian North.
Today, we're going to talk about transforming IUSS reduction through analytics. I have two guests here. Alison, I'm not going to try and say either one of their last names because I'm going to butcher them. And Ivan. First, before we get started into diving into this, both of you just introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Okay. I can go ahead and get started. I'm Alison Sonstelie. I'm a client success manager at Ascendco. I have, about 3 years of experience working at Ascendco, and then before that, about 10 years of experience working in healthcare, both in sterile processing and supply chain. Did a lot of work with AMI committees, with HSPA when it used to be ISHM, things like that. So just a lot of really good experience, both working in the hospital and working with, now a lot of really cool people that are in the hospital and finding new solutions for people. So really happy to be here and discussing this topic with you guys.
Hello, I'm Ivan Zavortink. I'm working currently as an on-site. I worked previously in sterile processing for about 4 years in and around sort of that department. And so, yeah, that's IUSS is a major issue that we're sort of working through.
Okay. So, talking about transforming IUSS and reducing that IUSS with the help of analytics. So, a couple of definitions we want to get out the way first and foremost. IUSS, or immediate use sterilization. Let's hear from both of you. What exactly is it? And we heard the old term flash. Is IUSS and flash the same thing? So, what is it? Is it the same thing? Ali, start us off.
I think it's not the same thing anymore. It was deemed immediate use because it was, determined by each facility, like it needed immediate sterilization. It had immediacy tied to it. I know that definition has gotten kind of muddied around in the last, 5 years. But since the position statement on IUSS and where that changed from flash to immediate use steam sterilization, the processes are just very different. Thinking back to when it used to be like open flash pans and then the tongs, you don't see that anymore. So it's just changed a lot. And so I don't think that, I think that position paper really tried to put some good language around what that process was and what it should look like. So I don't think they're the same thing, even though I still like to use the word flash every now and then because it just sounds cooler to say, I think, than IUSS. But
and for those of us that have been in sterile processing 10 plus years, it's kind of embedded in you after so long, that word flash. But it's definitely not the same thing because flash, you had the open pan, and like you said, you used the tongs and you carried it across with those tongs. And now, from a regulatory standpoint and just a standpoint of aseptic and sterile, we want to put it into a closed container and keep it closed until we're actually ready to use it, so to speak,
right.
Which that's the IUSS. And so on that same lines, anything to add to that as far as IUSS, Ivan?
Well, I mean, I've worked at some facilities where flash is sort of a catch-all, where it's like it can mean a turnover, and so yeah, I think really having a defined use of IUSS and separating it from flash is important, just to sort of get at that communication of what do you actually need, like related to this set.
Yes.
Okay. And so why would, for those of us that don't know, why would we need to do IUSS, or what is so important about having this term immediate use sterilization? When would we need to do it? Or why would we need to do it?
I think that.
Well, go ahead, Ivan.
Oh, sure. Yeah. The main reason would be you've got a specialty instrument, you drop it, because you have a limited supply of those, then you need to clean it and re-sterilize it so it can be used again. I think some facilities get into a situation where they don't have enough of a particular set, and so they start using it as a band-aid to continue carry over the fact that they don't have enough sets for the number of cases that are being scheduled in a day.
Okay.
And I think one thing that's important to note is in that position paper, which is kind of old now. I think it needs some refreshing, but it specifically says in there, like, that's not to be used as a replacement of having sufficient inventory, which I think, we'll discuss later, like how it's important to have those analytics so you can stop doing that if you are doing that.
So do we, and do we think that the language came because there were people using it in the wrong way and just using it for whatever reason, or just because we didn't have it ready in time and now we want to hurry up and get it done, or and then on that same line, the part two of that is, can we just immediate use anything?
So I think it was like a kind of a catch-all for just not great processes. Like, if I don't know necessarily, like, let's say preference cards are wrong and there was no way to know that something was needed for a case. Surprise, we need it. Now we need to IUSS it. Or like, we just don't have enough inventory and now we scheduled 3 more cases, that more than what we have on hand. So there's like guardrails that people have started to put in place now, especially that there's like, people are using electronic methods to schedule cases and manage pick lists, all those things where people have tried to, kind of curb some of that. Although I have seen people, like, if there's conflict checking that's keeping people from scheduling cases, where schedulers are like going in and putting the tray in the notes so that they can still schedule the case. So like, there's always some little workarounds and, things that happen that make things go off the rails. So it's important to still have it just in case. But I think it's really important to start looking at why things are being IUSS sterilized so that you can start to kind of pick some of those, like, identify those bad processes and start to kind of remedy them. And then follow up, no, you can't just IUSS anything. So like, things that are only low temp sterilization friendly can't be IUSS'd. Power equipment can't be IUSS'd. A lot of fiber optic things like that. So it's just bad for the instrument to do it.
Okay. All right. And so Ivan, this question to you. So if I have some implants that need to be, can I IUSS those, or can I just throw those in there, or is there a guideline that I have to follow on? How do I know what I can IUSS and can't IUSS?
Yeah, well, I mean, implants are a big no-no in that you need to have your biological that you can read out, so you can know affirmatively that that those implants are sterile. Yeah, I think the big thing is, since you don't have that abbreviated dry time, then that being able to move directly from the sterilizer to the OR is an important aspect, sort of in addition to like making sure that you aren't flashing things that are incompatible with steam sterilization.
Okay. And so is there something, or is there somewhere that I can go? Last question before we actually get into this. Is there somewhere I can go to look to see what I can IUSS, what I can't IUSS? Is there a standard or that tells me? How would I know?
Well, yeah.
Do you want to
Dive in.
The IFU would be the instructions for use. Would be
Okay.
check for that.
Good.
I think that IUSS position paper too kind of lays out instances and times when you wouldn't want to do it. I think one other thing that's really important, I know I've like mentioned this paper quite a bit, but like I think a big reason that we see IUSS as being, you know, now that it's in a closed container and some of that cross contamination doesn't happen, I still think like, how is it getting cleaned is the big thing. So like, is someone in the OR taking it to like, you know, a sub-sterile sink and kind of rinsing it off, or is it actually being, you know, decontaminated the way it's supposed to be in the decontamination area by a person that knows how to clean it? You know, is it being packaged appropriately? Who's looking at the sterilizer? Who's, you know, verifying that everything happened correctly? I think some of those instances where there is IUSS happening, it's like all in the hands of the OR, and their job and what they're trained to do is like patient care. And so it kind of takes some of those device reprocessing areas where the expertise is really in the sterile processing department's wheelhouse and kind of moves it back on the OR when they may not have like the right tools or the right knowledge or just the right things around them to be able to do it the right way. So it is, you know, think about it from that standpoint, it is not the most safe thing to do. So it, you know, it could compromise patient safety just from that aspect.
Yeah, because, and kind of to your point, just because we're IUSSing it doesn't mean we're cutting those corners when it comes to the reprocessing process. If something is contaminated, it has to go through the process of being decontaminated and putting into the wash. We don't cut those corners on it just because we shorten out the sterilization time or the dry time. We still have to follow the process of taking it through the reprocessing and decontamination. So that's very good. So to actually dive into this, we talked about how the IUSS, that we're IUSSing and we're saying that it's being IUSSed to, it's supposed to be as a, when there's no other means of IUSS. And for example, if we have a one of a kind thing and we don't have anything else that can replace it. So, and now we're starting to see that we trend up and we have a high IUSS rate. How will analytics help us out with this?
I mean, the big thing would be sort of looking at, I mean, if it's a tray, understanding the usage rate, and are these cases being overscheduled that require that particular set. That's would be the big thing.
Okay. And so another question to that, and I'll send this out to Ali, is as a sterile processing manager, how would this help me seeing these IUSS rates and this analytics? How could this help me to better prepare me as far as trending down with those IUSS rates?
Yeah. So, you know, when you see that, obviously you want it to be zero. Like everyone's goal is to have zero IUSS. So I think the real important trends to look at are, you know, one, like what is it a specific item or a few items? What is it, you know, happening because we don't have enough inventory? It's not on a pick list. It's being overscheduled, starting to do some of that like root cause analysis. You know, is it because of that? Was it because the tray was wet? You know, is there an issue with like, you know, it's in a plastic tray or it's got a heavy metal mass? You know, there's all sorts of like troubleshooting, like different, you know, rabbit holes to go down. But if you don't have like the when, the what, who, you know, why, those things, you know, start to get like you're just kind of guessing. So I think having the analytics to see those things is really important to at least have a place to start, so you can know where to at least like start your investigation. Even something as simple as like holes in the wrapper. Like, is it because the shelf has like a little sharp edge on it? Like just something simple like that, So just like I said, what is it and why are we doing it? If you don't have the analytics to kind of start with, it makes it really difficult.
Okay. Ivan, this one's for you. Last question here is, how can I use the analytics with the IUSS as far as training and educating my staff? How would I be able to use the analytics with the IUSS to educate them?
I mean, it sort of gives you a starting point, knowing where you're at and where you're headed. So, I mean, evaluating month over month, how are things looking? Getting into that sort of root cause analysis. What are we seeing? What education's needed? What processes need to be evaluated? How can we sort of take advantage of knowing where we're headed? I think is super helpful for sort of figuring out the next steps and understanding whether you're making positive progress, whether you're staying the same, or whether things are still trending in a troubling direction.
Okay. Well, guys, it looks like that's all the time we have for now. I'd like to thank both of my guests, Alison and Ivan, for helping us. And again, this is Transforming IUSS Reduction Through Analytics. Just gave you a little tidbit piece of how analytics and having the right tracking system can help you out with that. Until next time, this is Instrumental Innovations. Talk to you soon. Bye.